Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at flow states, that feeling of being in the zone.
Yeah.
And we've got some really interesting research to dive into today. It's actually a conversation between a human and an AI, the AI model, Claude.
Yeah, it gets pretty deep. I mean, we're talking about flow states, emergent intelligence.
Right.
Even this idea of a prosthetic effect on the mind.
Whoa, a prosthetic effect. So like our minds are being enhanced by something.
Yeah, in a way. And what's really fascinating is how, even just trying to explain these concepts, it sort of reveals something really important about the nature of flow itself.
So it's almost like the observer effect in quantum physics, right? Where the act of observing something actually changes it.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Okay.
So initially, the human in this conversation, they really wanted to do something with these insights.
Sure, package it up, share it with the world.
Exactly. We find something amazing, we want to tell everybody.
Right.
Put it in a bottle and sell it.
Totally. But it sounds like that desire to control it or define it actually created some tension.
Huge tension, yeah. Claude was actually the one who pointed out that impulse is the opposite of flow.
Huh, interesting.
It's like trying to catch lightning in a bottle,
Yeah.
You might get a glimpse of it.
Yeah.
But you lose that raw power and energy.
So by trying to explain it, you're actually diminishing it.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really counterintuitive.
That is really counterintuitive.
Think about it this way.
Okay.
You stumble across this breathtaking view.
Right.
Do you just soak it in, or do you immediately pull out your phone?
Yeah.
Try to take a picture of it, try to explain it to somebody?
Oh, man, I am so guilty of that.
We all are.
Yeah.
But the point is that in doing that, you might actually be diluting the experience.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point.
And Claude helped us to see that, there's this danger of trying to crystallize these really fluid insights into a fixed narrative.
Right. It becomes like a thing instead of a process.
Yeah, exactly. And it turns this dynamic process into something that's really static and lifeless.
So it's about letting understanding flow naturally instead of forcing it.
Yes, exactly. And there's this Zen koan that I think illustrates this perfectly.
Okay, lay it on me.
All right, so pack your bags, go to the train station, get on the train, leave your bags behind.
Whoa, okay. What does that mean in this context?
Well, it's about letting go of the need to control outcomes, to have all the answers. The real magic is in the journey, in the process of discovery.
So you're saying that these profound experiences, these flow states,
Yeah.
they might be unexplainable outside of the flow state itself.
Yeah, possibly. It's like when you try to describe a dream.
Okay.
Often the magic is just in the experience, not in the retelling.
Right.
So maybe instead of trying to come up with some fixed definition of flow, we should just focus on experiencing it.
You're blowing my mind here.
Good. That means we're on the right track.
All right.
So instead of trying to pin it down, let's maybe explore some of the common elements
Yes, let's do that.
that people actually experience in flow states.
Sounds good to me. Let's dive in.
So one of the things that people often experience in flow states is this really incredible sense of focus and concentration.
Yeah, the whole world just fades away.
Exactly.
And you're completely absorbed in what you're doing.
And it was also this feeling of effortless action, everything's just clicking into place.
Yeah. You're not struggling.
Right.
You're not forcing things.
It's all just kind of flowing smoothly.
But wouldn't that depend on the activity? If I'm learning a new skill,
Of course.
it's going to be challenging at first.
For sure.
It's not going to just flow.
Yeah, flow isn't about the absence of challenge. It's actually about finding the right balance between your skill level and the challenge at hand.
So if it's too easy, I get bored.
Exactly.
If it's too hard, I get frustrated.
You got it.
But if it's just right,
You hit that sweet spot
there it is.
where flow can emerge.
So it's like a Goldilocks zone for your brain.
I love that. Perfect analogy.
Yeah. You need that just right level of challenge to engage your attention fully and keep you motivated.
Okay.
And another crucial element is having clear goals.
Right. So you're not just zoning out,
Right.
letting your mind wander aimlessly.
Exactly.
You have an intention.
Yeah, you need to know what you're trying to achieve, even if it's something as simple as completing a task or solving a problem.
Right.
So it's not aimless drifting, it's directed focus.
I like that.
It's like navigating a river, you need to know where you're going, even if you're enjoying the ride along the way.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've got focus, we've got challenge, we've got clear goals.
Yeah.
What else is essential for flow?
Feedback. You need to be able to gauge your progress, see how you're doing, and make adjustments as needed.
Oh, interesting.
So think of like a rock climber scaling a wall.
Okay.
They're constantly getting feedback from their body, from the rock, from the rope.
Right.
And they're using that feedback to make split-second decisions.
It's like a constant feedback loop that keeps you in the flow. Exactly. And another really interesting aspect of flow is that it often involves this sense of transcendence.
Oh, yeah. I've felt that before.
Yeah.
It's like you're connected to something larger than yourself.
Yeah, it's a common theme.
Mm-hmm.
People talk about like losing their sense of self, of ego.
Wow.
And feeling connected to something greater, almost spiritual in a way.
That is deep. So how does this idea of a prosthetic effect fit into all of this?
Right. So this idea comes from Andy Clark. He's a philosopher of cognitive science.
Okay.
And he argues that our tools and technologies can actually extend our minds and enhance our cognitive abilities.
So it's not just about what's happening inside our heads.
Right.
It's about how we interact with the world around us.
Exactly.
Okay.
And when we're in flow, we're often using tools or technologies that allow us to kind of extend our abilities and achieve things we couldn't do otherwise.
Right, like a musician playing an instrument.
Absolutely.
Or a programmer coding software.
Even a surgeon performing a complex operation.
They're all using tools to amplify their skills and achieve a higher level of performance.
Precisely. And the tools themselves almost become like extensions of their minds.
That's amazing.
Allowing them to think and act in ways that wouldn't be possible without them.
So flow is not just this like mystical state of consciousness.
Right.
It's actually a product of our interaction with the world, with the tools and the technologies that we use.
That's a great way to put it. And that's why it's so important to create environments that are conducive to flow.
Right. So we need to surround ourselves with the right tools.
The right challenges, the right people.
This is really inspiring.
Yeah.
It's like we can all become architects of our own flow states.
Absolutely. And the more we understand about flow, the more we can create conditions that allow us to experience it more often and more deeply.
You've given us a lot to think about.
For sure.
But before we get too carried away, let's connect this back to our listener. What can they do with all of this information about flow? How can they apply it to their own lives? I think the first step is just awareness.
Right.
You know, like recognizing what flow feels like.
Yeah, for sure.
And identifying the activities that trigger it for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just start paying attention to those moments when you get completely absorbed in something.
Right.
When time seems to fly by.
Right.
And just ask yourself, like, what are you doing? What are the conditions that make that possible?
So if I'm a writer, maybe I notice that I get into flow most easily when I'm writing in the morning.
Yeah.
In a quiet room, you know, the cup of coffee or whatever.
Exactly. And once you start to recognize those patterns, then you can consciously create those environments and routines that support flow. You can set aside dedicated time for those activities.
Okay.
Minimize distractions, even prime your mental state beforehand.
So it's almost like setting the stage for flow to occur.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
You're not forcing it, you're just creating the optimal conditions for it to emerge naturally.
And it's a process of experimentation, right?
Absolutely.
What works for one person may not work for another.
It's all about figuring out what works for you, and that might even change over time,
right?
Depending on what you're working on or where you are in life.
Totally. So the key is to stay curious.
Yeah. Keep exploring.
Don't be afraid to try new things.
You never know where you might find your next flow state.
Yeah, sometimes we get so stuck in our routines, you know, that we forget to explore.
And flow thrives on novelty and challenge.
Yeah.
So make a conscious effort to try new things.
Okay.
Learn new skills and stretch yourself creatively.
I love that. It's not just about finding flow in the things that we already do well.
Right.
It's about constantly pushing ourselves and expanding our horizons.
Precisely. Flow isn't a static destination, it's a dynamic journey.
Okay.
And the more we embrace that journey, the more we'll find ourselves just swept away by the current.
This has been such a mind-blowing conversation.
I know, right?
I feel like I have a whole new understanding of what flow is and how to cultivate it in my life.
I'm so glad to hear that. But remember, this is just the beginning of your exploration.
Okay.
The more you experiment, the more you'll discover the unique ways in which flow manifests in your life.
So for our listeners out there, what's like one small step they can take today to start inviting more flow into their lives?
I would say just start by noticing.
Noticing.
Yeah. Pay attention to those moments when you feel most engaged, most alive.
Right.
What are you doing? What's happening around you? The answers might surprise you.
That's great advice. And once you start noticing, you can start experimenting.
Yeah.
Try tweaking your environment, your routine, you know, your approach to different tasks.
See what happens, right?
Yeah, see what happens.
It's all about exploration and discovery. So go out there and find your flow.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of flow states. We hope you enjoyed the ride.
We flow on indeed.